Let's see, what's the number? It's 1-669-444-9171, passcode 601649. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and could we have a roll call, please?
Director Dye.
Here.
Director Lohman.
Here.
Director Clark.
Present.
Director Penrose.
Present.
Director Slater Carter.
Present.
Chair Ruddock.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. So we're moving on to item 2, which is public comment. And the public is welcome to comment on any item on the consent agenda and items that are not on the regular meeting agenda. Let's see. I only see one hand raised, and that would be Kishan.
Yes, I'd like to welcome Aaron Gilbert, our new employee who's a lead operator and on our payroll. And we've got Tim Costello going to talk a few words about Aaron. Over to you, Tim.
Over to me. Should I go ahead and start?
Please.
You all see Aaron there? There's Aaron in the corner. Wave to everyone, Aaron. That's Aaron Gilbert. So Aaron Gilbert, so he grew up in Montera. He went to, I'm getting some background. Am I getting feedback somewhere?
If you're not speaking, please mute yourselves.
Better? Yeah, much better. Okay. So Aaron grew up in Montera, went to Fairlawn View School. He went to Cunha. He's a graduate of Half Moon Bay High School, class of, I don't even want to say what class he was because that would make me feel really old. But class of 2002, fine, all right. He served as a mission, served a mission for his church. Did 2 years in Spain with the church group, so that's super cool, right? He married his high school sweetheart. He was captain of the football team. She was captain of the cheerleading squad. Oh, it's almost like it was meant to be. It is like a movie, but different. Played football at San Jose State University, where he got his BS in biochemistry. Worked for a protein purification lab for a couple years before he fell into wastewater. He has 4 kids, ages 6 to 14. Currently is the master's of program at UCLA for environmental, he's in a master's program at UCLA for environmental engineering. And he is a bishop at his church in the local area. And he's coaching his daughter's Pop Warner football team, lives in El Granada. And it's really, I would like to say, like, for me, I've known Aaron on a professional level for the past few years. And I would see him at meetings and, different functions. I was always like, dude, you're right here in your backyard. You grew up here. Wouldn't it be awesome if you had like hardly any commute and you could just be part of the community that you're already part of anyhow? So, I mean, I think it's really cool that we were able to get Aaron finally to come and join us. And I hope he's going to be here for a very long time. I think he has a lot to offer. And I think he's just going to be a really, really good addition to the facility and the organization.
Yep, I'd like to add that Aaron is also a grade 5 operator. So we have 2 grade 5 operators with Sam, Tim, and Aaron.
Can you just tell us a little more about what capacity he'll be joining us? He seems like a great hire, and congratulations to all and welcome to Aaron.
Kishan, did you want to take that or?
Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
So we're looking at planning for the future because, as you know, a lot of the operators that are there now, myself included, we're pushing that 40-year kind of ceiling. The reality is we don't have a lot of time left. I mean, they're working theoretically. So we need to transfer that knowledge to someone that's really going to take it and, and embrace the organization and bring it forward into the future. And that's really what we're planning for.
So one of the first few steps in succession planning. So his designation is lead operator.
Welcome, Aaron.
Welcome,
Yes.
Aaron. I think I knew you when you were a little kid.
Yes, ma'am. I believe John's your son, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Good times with
Welcome,
baseball
Aaron.
with you. Thank you all very much.
Kishan, did you have anything else?
No, that's it. I see Delia has a hand raised.
Delia.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Delia Camito. I'm the Assistant General Manager of the Granada Community Services District. However, I'm speaking here on my own behalf, not as a representative of the district or of our directors. I wish to comment on an issue that is not on your agenda tonight, though it's something your board and staff are familiar with. This is nerve-wracking for me, but in light of a looming article that may be published in the Half Moon Bay Review, I think that it's best to address the issue head on. So first, I would like to advise you that I did not contact the media with a complaint, as you've been told. That came about as the result of a public comment I made on my own behalf at the August Granada Community Services District meeting, and a reporter subsequently contacted me. I spoke out under public comment because I felt it was the only vehicle I had to bring attention to a situation that greatly affected me and my work. It was relatively a simple request. It was specific. I was made conscious of staff time. It should have been routine, and instead it was blown into quite a big ordeal. And the situation has encouraged me to promote honesty and ethics that forward the interests of the public. Second, I am not focused on small expenditures. I do not want to see anyone embarrassed, including myself. This is not about SAM employees. They have my complete respect. What I am focused on is the ethical behavior and the proper use of public funds. Expenditures are supposed to serve a primary public purpose, and incidental private benefit is okay. It's not supposed to be the other way around. In California, there are 58 counties, 482 cities, and over 3,400 special districts that employ thousands of civil servants, public employees. And we all have a duty to uphold the high ethical standards that are expected by the public. No agency is an exception, and there is no justification for the expenditures that I found that are taking place. As far as working like a team, someone had made that comment, it's something that I actually desire, but in reality, to feel like a team, everyone on that team has to be playing by the same rules. And I have the distinct feeling that I've been relegated to a lower level playing field. I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
I see no other hands raised. Let's look at chat. Okay, there. Okay, we can move on to item 3, which is the consent agenda. Are there items that anyone wishes to pull?
I'd like to make a correction to the minutes from the last meeting.
Sure. Go ahead.
On page 7 of the packet, item number 8, topics for future board consideration. The last sentence says, Director Clark would like to see a discussion on the minutes and public records requests reappear as a future agenda item. Actually, I noted that those 2 items had been on the agenda for the previous meeting that was canceled. And I was just asked when they were going to reappear, and I was informed that they would be on tonight's agenda. So that's just a more accurate rendition of what happened. If that can be changed, I'll be happy.
Sure.
Is everybody good with making that change? And Kishan, can you?
Yes, we will make the change.
Approve the minutes, or approve the consent agenda, noting that as item A as amended by the board. Any other items under the consent agenda? Could we have a motion noting the amended item A and the second, please?
I move that we accept the consent agenda with an amendment to item A as discussed.
I'll second.
Could we have a roll call, please?
Director Dye,
Aye.
Director Lohman,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Penrose,
Aye.
Director Slater Carter,
Yes.
Chair Ruddock.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay. Item 4, regular business. Item A, authorize general manager to issue a purchase order to Environmental Dynamics International for the spray foam header piping, in-basin aeration components, and scope adjustments to the main air supply header for the aeration basin number 4 in the amount of $138,050.
Yep, as you're aware, we have the aeration basin 3, which is up and running. And the decision was taken by the board in last August to go ahead and get the aeration basin 4 fired up and running as per Brown and Caldwell's recommendation. And therefore, in the month of August, we ordered for diffusers and some long lead items from Environmental Dynamics International, and parts have started coming in. The diffusers, some of the diffusers have come, some of the accessories, piping and valves are yet to come. So as we were doing the engineering, we found a lot of other piping and other things are required. So this proposal is to get the entire thing completed. We got the material changed from 304 stainless steel to 316. And we also added some new foam spray system, which helps in evenly spreading out the foam and evenly spreading out the spray to kill the foam as much as possible. And these are the few modifications which we intend giving to Environmental Dynamics International. So staff is here to answer any questions, and all these are required for aeration basin 4. This was already included in the last year's budget, 21-22. We still had money left over because we hadn't ordered everything. So with this, we would still have 181. We will still have 43,550 remaining in the budget if this proposal is approved. Staff is here to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Matthew.
Thank you. In the previous fiscal year, 418,000 was allocated for this specific type of work on improving aeration 4, and it was noted in the staff report that there was over 181,000 left out of that allocation, and that the money for this new need would be taken from what was remaining. How will that be shown in subsequent financial reports so that it's clear to us and the public that this money came in from the last fiscal year and is not a new expenditure?
I guess this is typical not only for this infrastructure project. There are several infrastructure projects which have happened in the last year as well as a couple of years back, where the money has, the projects have spilled over to the next year. So in whichever financial year the expenditure occurs, it will be taken up into that account, and we will show it that it has been taken from that particular year. But the most important fact is we are not reaching out to the member agencies again in this fiscal year saying that this has been expended and this was approved. This has not been approved in 22-23, but was approved in 21-22.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But does that answer your question fully, Matthew?
Yes. As long as it's apparent without leafing through many pages and tables that this money had already been allocated for this very purpose, that's fine.
Director Dye.
Yeah, I don't have something specific to offer here, but I want to make the point that I hope that in the Finance Committee, we can talk about ways to include more flexibility in the infrastructure budget. Things sometimes cost more than they were expected to. And sometimes projects change in the way they need to be done. And I'm really pleased that we are now tracking infrastructure spending separately. I think that's a huge advancement, and that unexpended infrastructure money won't cover ongoing costs. But I do still struggle with the idea of how we handle changes in the infrastructure budget, which are going to happen and should happen. I mean, we should be moving toward the newest technology. So I'm not proposing a motion or anything. I just want to say that I'm looking forward to further discussion on that topic. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Dye. Anybody else? Is there a motion?
So moved to authorize a purchase to Environmental Dynamics International for the spray foam header piping, in-basin aeration components, and scope adjustments to the main air supply header of aeration basin number 4 in the amount of $138,050.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Director Dye,
Aye.
Director Lohman,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Penrose,
Aye.
Director Slater Carter,
Yes.
Chair Ruddock.
Yes.
Motion approved. Thank you.
Okay. Item B, review and adopt the revised SAM Public Records Act policy.
Yep, so the revised Public Records Act policy is attached in the packet. This was requested by the board. And this policy was discussed at the Board Operations Committee. So there were minor changes suggested by the committee. The amended Public Records Act policy was actually drafted by our General Counsel, Jeremy. So he's also here, and staff is here to answer any questions.
For the public, could you just summarize what those changes were?
Yeah, Jeremy, would you like to do that?
Sure. The prior policy was pretty bare bones. It was just kind of some general principles. So what we did is we went through, we took a template that we use for other agencies, kind of laying out the typical Public Records Act process, the time frame for initial response, the internal handling of Public Records Act requests, how are they staffed, and then some of the costs associated with charging requesters. And one change we made at the recommendation of the Ops Committee was to clarify that member agency Public Record Act requests would not be charged a per page charge. So anyway, we went through those kind of things, and you should have a much clearer policy that also incorporates some of the requirements of the Smith versus San Jose decision, which deals with official agency records that are retained from individual board members or individual employees' emails and on their individual computers. That's something I assume this board knows this, but that was one of the real changes with that court case. Was the California Supreme Court said, if it's for agency official business, whether you're doing it on your Gmail account or your official agency account, it's still public business and it's subject to the Public Records Act. So we incorporated that and actually included an affidavit where if a record request does come in, there's a way for directors and employees to certify that they have checked their own devices and they have either found responsive records or they haven't. And so it just creates a nice paper trail that allows SAM to demonstrate that it is complied with the Public Records Act.
Thank you for that. And I do know, I have asked in the past for the general manager to provide an update on what Public Records Act's request and how fast we are responding. And as far as I can tell, we're responding totally within the boundaries set by the law, promptly, whatever's asked for. So I don't think Keishan would dispute that.
Yeah, absolutely comply with it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about it? Matthew?
I have a comment and a question. As council just noted, this is replacing as he said, a very bare bones previous public records policy. Would it be appropriate to say at the end of the second paragraph on page 1 to note that this supersedes the previous policy, which is hereby revoked?
That would be perfectly appropriate. We could easily make that provision.
Thank you. And then on the same first page under process for receiving and responding, in the second line, there's a word missing. It says calendar days unless there are reasons to justify. There should be the verb are, unless there are reasons to justify. That word needs to be inserted. That's all I have.
That's a very good catch. Thank you very much, Director Clark.
Yeah. Both those revisions can definitely be made.
And is this posted online, in a way so people know, where they can go to actually file these requests and do it online and all that stuff?
Yes.
Great. So is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Just a clarification, the motion and the second were to adopt as revised with Director Clark's revisions, correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Director Dye,
Yes.
Director Lohman,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye. Aye.
Director Penrose,
Aye.
Director Slater Carter,
Yes.
Chair Ruddock.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion approved.
Okay, item C, review and adopt the SAM board minutes policy.
Yeah, this is again second of the policies. There was never a board minutes policy earlier, so this is a new policy. And this was requested by the board. The policy was discussed at the board operations committee. Very minor changes were suggested by the committee. This was again drafted by our general counsel, Jeremy. So Jeremy and staff are here to answer any questions if anybody needs any clarifications or any corrections or anything.
Nope.
Okay, can we have a motion then?
So moved.
I'll
Second.
second.
Seconded by Clark. Could I have a roll call, please?
Director Dye,
I have a
Yes.
meeting. Can I call you back later or tomorrow?
Director Lohman,
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Penrose,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter. Director Slater Carter.
You're muted.
Sorry, you there?
Yes.
Thank you. Chair Ruddock.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion approved, policies adopted. Thank you.
Okay, item D, authorize general manager to issue a purchase order to Global Diving and Salvage for excavating and repairing the damaged outfall diffusers in the amount of $132,069.
Okay, so SAM treats its wastewater and discharges into the ocean. For some of you who would have seen the treatment plant, it comes in through the headworks, goes to the primary clarifier, secondary clarifier, then gets disinfected, and finally goes out as an effluent into the ocean. And when it goes into the ocean outfall, it actually gets discharged through a pipe and a submerged multi-port diffuser, which is actually located west of Pilar-Citos Creek. Now, this outfall is regularly inspected on an annual basis. We hire divers who go dive deep below, check the condition of the outfall, and prepare a report, and that report is generally brought to the board. But this time, besides the report, we're also being a proposal to repair the diffusers, because there's one particular diffuser which we've seen which requires immediate attention. And these diffusers are made of rubber, so they tend to wear out, tend to get damaged, and therefore needs to be replaced over a period of time. Plus, these are, although they are buried and sand is covered on that, when they have boats and other things going over, sometimes they get damaged by whatever they throw into the ocean. So we would recommend that the diffuser which not only requires immediate attention, but also the rest of the ones which require certain replacements to be done, because a large amount of money is spent in mobilizing and getting the divers to actually go in, get their equipment and stay for a couple of days, dive in and come out and examine. So that's the large amount of money involved. The repair of diffusers is a very small amount because we procure the diffusers and give it to the divers. And the diffusers cost something around $3,000, that's all. So the main amount is because of the risk involved. The divers are very expensive, and it's not common for people to just dive and go underwater and replace things. So that's the main crux of the issue. And the report, as you've seen, indicates clearly that I think about 10 or 11 of diffusers out of the 35 need to be replaced. So these are the ones which we are recommending need to be replaced, but diffuser number 33 is one which definitely needs to be repaired, which needs to be replaced, because we actually repaired it last year, but whatever repair had been done last year, that material has vanished, is no longer present. It's got washed away. So that's why this needs to be excavated and replaced as soon as possible. So staff is recommending that we follow the option 1, although we've given 2 options to the board. One is to replace all the damaged diffusers at a cost $132,069, or the second option is to defer the decision to replace the diffusers for the next fiscal year. This replacement of diffusers was not known while the infrastructure budget was being prepared in the early part of this year, because the last year's report did not show such drastic changes. It said that it doesn't require immediate replacement, so we left it at that. We said, okay, let's examine it next year and then decide it. So that's why we're given the second option also to the board, saying if they'd like to defer the decision to replace the diffusers because it is not included in the fiscal year, then we will have to see how to replace only 33 and see whether it's worth waiting for it. So staff is here to answer any questions, and forum is open for questions, please.
Catherine.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Unmute. Okay. I will be interested in hearing the questions, but I think I will not be convinced if anyone has the opinion to defer this. I think that costs are only going to be going up in the near future, and we should keep our plant and all of its parts in a in the best repair we possibly can. It saves us money in the long run. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Director Dye.
I agree with that. This seems like an infrastructure expense. And again, I don't know if it's too late to put it on our next finance committee agenda, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot, about the flexibility and of the infrastructure budget and how we make sure that the projects that need to get done are getting done and are getting supported without surprise additional charges to the districts. So my request is that we discuss ways to build in more flexibility to the infrastructure budget, because clearly this is something that needs to be done that wasn't foreseen. Thanks.
Greg, I'm going to handle questions from directors first and then circle back to you. So Matthew.
I have a comment and two questions. First, I will echo the previous directors. Let's not defer this. This is vital and it needs to function as well as it can. And I keep hearing things about ocean outfalls are going to be more restricted. Let's get this done before some horrendous new standards fall on us. And then my my questions are that it's noted that this was not in the infrastructure budget because the need was unknown. And it's going to now come out of the professional fees for the treatment section, which was allocated a specific amount of $466,656, quite a precise number. So I assume that was a real calculation on what was going to be needed for these professional fees. And taking this much money out of it is a significant portion of that 466. Does this mean that those something else won't be done because we're spending money that was allocated for a different purpose?
Director Clark, it's not that something will not be done. It is that this is more important. That's why this is being projected. But as months pass by, if something takes a priority and we find that we need more funds, we would definitely go for a mid-year budget adjustment if we do not have sufficient funds. So at this moment, it is difficult to predict whether we have whether we need funds for a mid-year budget adjustment.
Okay, thank you. Secondly, I note this is at 132,000, but the proposal, as you general managers noted, does not include the replacement diffusers and hardware in the budget. Do we have any idea how much more this will actually cost? And that will come out of the same allocation that was for professional services?
We already have a lot of diffusers as spares. So we will be using those spare diffusers, and if required, then we would have to buy some of the diffusers. So we will know that at that point of time once the divers actually go in. But like I told the board that the diffusers cost about $3,000. So we will examine at that point of time. We do have a lot of spare diffusers.
Thank you.
Director Penrose.
Yes, I would agree with the three previous directors. I think this is not something which can be deferred, but I specifically think that it does bring up the importance of flexibility, if that's one word to use, in our infrastructure budget. So I would agree very strongly with Director Dye that this is something we need to discuss, and a problem which we don't want to become a problem. We need to have a solution for.
Catherine, do you have another comment, or is your hand raised from before?
Sorry about that. There it is.
Greg.
I'm pleased to see the comments by the board. I'm still a little confused about two things. One is kind of academic. I wonder what the rate of inflation has been for the labor and materials regarding this. But since you're all in agreement to expedite it, it seems that's more of an academic question. The thing that confuses me is it says replace the damaged diffusers, and there are 33 or 34 of them. A few of them are colored and highlighted. So the question is, how many are you replacing, and why not replace all of them as long as you're down there? Because it does seem like the mobilization in one time, or is there some drawback to replacing things, you know, would it really cost a lot more to replace the rest of them? And this is not wear and tear, this is damage. This is accidental boat anchor dragging stuff. So that's my question. Why not all of them, and how many are there that are damaged?
One of them is completely damaged, which is D33, which requires replacement. The balance, which are actually colored in green, if you see, there are about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them. So those 12 will also be replaced if this proposal is approved. But the remaining one have not shown anywhere. So it doesn't require replacement at this moment. Since we are carrying out inspection on an annual basis, we would review it again next year and see whether it requires replacement. As of now, it's just these 12 plus 1, which is requires immediate replacement. Did it answer your question, correct?
Well, the implication is that there's not a lot of wear looming on an annual basis on the ones that aren't damaged, so we might as well let them age in place. That's the implication. If they were aging rapidly, then I guess it would be a stronger argument to replace all of them. But you know, I'm happy with.
Yeah, I mean, let's take it this way. We are bound to do the annual inspection, so we have to send divers to the outfall every year. It's not that because we replace all the diffusers, we're going to stop inspection next year. So we will go ahead and replace the ones which require replacement, continue with our inspection, see how it goes next year, and then decide. But what we could possibly do is maybe a plan for it in the infrastructure budget for next year. Next year, I mean, in the fiscal year 23-24, with the assumption that maybe some of them needs replacement. We could definitely think of that.
Director Penrose.
Yes, you mentioned something about the fact that the diffusers had parts that were rubber, and that this rubber was something that was easily damaged, or I'm not sure what you meant by that. And I'm wondering, when you replace, are you replacing it with something that is much better technology? Are we not using rubber? Or are we using something better?
No, typically these diffusers are always rubber. The ones which are submerged, they're always with rubber, but because of the sand and other conditions, they are subjected to wear and tear.
So there is not a better solution than replacing them with the same thing, which is going to get...
Over a period of time, yes, over many years.
Director Dye.
Sure.
This may be a dumb question, but it seems as if there are silicone things that work a lot better than rubber. I know nothing about this, and I'm not in any way saying I do, but I'm just curious, really the rubber is still the technology of choice for this? I'm waiting for you to say yes, but that's my question.
Well, I'm not a specialist, but I do know that silicone is used for high temperature applications, and this rubber has got more flex. So it's not like a temperature situation. So I don't know. I'm not an expert, but that's my guess.
Yes, well, I don't know either, and I'm sure you've dealt with the specialist. It just seems, it's interesting to me that it's still, rubber is still the technology of choice.
Yeah, but we've been getting this from this company, Tide Flex Diffusers, and they're experts in their field. So I'll go by what the experts suggest.
I'd like to move that we approve this project, and I can hardly wait to see the video.
Oh, also I wanted to mention that we do have these diffuser spares, which are rubber diffusers. If anybody is interested in seeing those, we have them at our plant, and you guys can swing by and we can show you how the diffusers actually look like.
I would like to see that. I'll be by tomorrow.
Okay.
Do they really look like rubber duck bills? That's what they're described as.
And they're yellow.
I'll second the motion.
I have a question in chat from Michelle. How deep are the diffusers? How deep is the outfall?
Tim, can you take that question, please? I don't have the answer right away. I think I'd mentioned in the staff report, but
The outfall line itself,
yeah.
the outfall line, it's 2,200 feet. It's about a depth of 40 feet. The duckbill diffusers or the tide flex diffusers, which are pretty much an industry standard because they have a tendency to not clog. So in situations like this, where we don't have access to them all the time, that's why that's a preferred style of diffuser in this situation or in similar situations where they could clog. So as far as depth, the length of the diffusers actually vary between 2 feet, 4 feet, and 6 feet, depending on where they are located on the main outfall diffuser line. And then they get sanded up. So some of these ones that are 6 feet in length, they might only have, 3 feet exposed because they're sanded up. There's some other ones that are 2 feet that are nearer to shore that maybe, are more accessible. Does that help a little bit, kind of, sort of?
Guessing that that's probably a pretty good answer.
Thank you, Tim.
I don't see any other public members' hands raised. I don't see anything else in chat. So could we have a roll call, please?
Did we have a motion in a second? I missed it.
I made the motion.
Sorry, I missed it. Director
I
Dye,
second.
Aye.
Director Lohman,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Penrose,
Aye.
Director Slater Carter,
Yes.
Chair Raddock.
Yes. Moving on to General Manager's report.
Yep, I do not have a manager's report, the complete thing, which is normally attached in the packet, but I'd like to mention one particular item as a part of the manager's report. During the past few days, we had extreme heat, which strained California's grid. And we actually participated in a mandatory demand response dispatch, which was initiated by PG&E and the organization with which we have signed up, which is called Voltus. And this is primarily to help community during these times of stress. And they want to make sure that the grid is not overwhelmed. And therefore, we participated for 4 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we had to literally shut off power at all SAM's facilities, the plant, and all the 3 pump stations that we own, right from 4 p.m. until 9 p.m. And this required staff to work extra hours prior and after the fact too. After 9 p.m. also, once we switch over from generator to PG&E, we have to ensure that the process is in place and a lot of things in place. So staff spent a lot of extra hours and monitored it, and we successfully completed it without any problem. Therefore, we played a huge role, I would say, in keeping lights on and ultimately, I would say, saving the lives. And it helped avoid a blackout in California and created less strain on California power grid. So I would like to thank the entire staff who were under the leadership of Tim Costello, and the way they managed it was tremendous. So I wanted to bring this forth to the board. Thank you. That's all I wanted to share in the manager's report.
Thank you, staff.
Yeah, thank you, staff. Director Dye, you have your hand raised?
I just want to join others to say thank you for doing that. It's great that we were able to do that. And everything was held in the wet water storage in El Granada.
Correct. And Montana, water tank.
Great. Well, we're all glad Sam could play its part. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Kishan.
You're welcome.
Attorney's report, item 6.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, first of all, that, being a kid that was raised in Florida, I was very surprised this week when all of a sudden Florida came to Southern California and it became a hot, humid mess like I can't ever remember seeing before. But what the news I saw was that one of the very few places in the great state of California where things were still nice and temperate and delightful was Half Moon Bay. So I was pretty jealous, actually. So I just wanted to congratulate you all on being here, being in Half Moon Bay and having made a good choice of a place to live. It seems like you guys probably escaped a lot of the worst stuff. We were supposed to meet with DWR and the State Water Board staff up in Sacramento, and on the day we were supposed to go, the forecast was for 114 degrees. So needless to say, we did it on Zoom and everyone was happier. Anyway, okay, so just one substantive item. Since we last met, the EPA proposed rulemaking to list 2 perfluorinated substances, PFAS, PFOA, and PFOS, as hazardous substances under the environmental statute called CERCLA, which is your Superfund, your cleanup statute. That's actually very significant because if the listing goes through, it will now give teeth to efforts to require people to do cleanup of legacy disposal of perfluorinateds. And so it is a potential issue for water and wastewater agencies like SAM, because of you just don't know what's going to happen in the future with regard to prior sludge disposal in particular. You have an ocean outfall, and so there's probably less of an issue, at least as far as retrospective liability for that. But as far as sludge disposal, that is an issue that wastewater agencies throughout California, and in fact throughout the country, are going to have to think about. And so anyway, that's just, I wanted to bring that to the board's attention. That may be something where Sam may want to comment either individually or in cooperation with CASA, but that's going to be a big issue going forward, and just wanted to make the board aware of it.
So if there's some timeline we should be aware of, if the board wants to comment or individuals, can you send us any relevant information, or whether we have to submit comments to
To EPA, yeah,
to EPA or whatever organization is leading the charge and amalgamating everybody's comments or whatever?
sure. And what I can also do, Chair Ruddick, is I can find out from CASA if they're going to be submitting comments and whether there's an opportunity to, if the board was so inclined, to combine our comments or cooperate with CASA on that effort. So I can do both those things.
Yeah, like that's material to our operations, current and future. So we should probably be on record, I guess. So
Yeah.
you could follow up there. I see Greg has his hand raised. Greg.
I would like to ask, and this piggybacks on a comment that Catherine has brought up in years past. Are we going to be forced to spend money to clean up something that was introduced by corporations in the manufacturing process? Has there been any talk about charging the people who create these substances and engineer these substances into their products to pay the rest of us for having to clean up their mess? And if there isn't, I would encourage Sam to make that comment in writing. As we all know, an ounce of prevention is a lot cheaper than a pound of cure. And what we're being asked to do is subsidize the profits of the companies that are making this stuff and cleaning it up at many-fold times the cost. It's just another small bit of outrage that I carry around with me. Sorry.
May I respond to that? Yeah, so you're you are not the only one duly outraged. I think there are, particularly in the water sector, less than in the wastewater sector, there's a lot of lawsuits that have already been initiated against DuPont and 3M and some of the other, they're the primary producers of PFAS, but there are other chemical companies as well. All of those cases are I shouldn't say all, most of those cases are currently pending in the district court for the District of South Carolina. They've all been consolidated there under the multi-district litigation statute. So they're all pending before one judge, and some of the test cases are going to be coming out in the near future. So at this point, you know, it's hard to really initiate any kind of litigation until you have a sense of what your damages are likely to be. But I would say that this is something that we should keep an eye on in the future. That may be something to bring back. There are law firms who are specializing in PFAS contingency fee litigation. So we would want to have a closed session on that, but that is something that we potentially could discuss in the future.
Catherine?
Thank you. Let me put this down while I'm thinking about it. There we go. PFAS is going to be an interesting problem. I just saw an article in the Chicago Tribune that if you want to avoid them, you should avoid waterproof makeup, microwave popcorn, and among other things, nonstick cookware. So this thing appears to be pretty well ingrained into our society and our consumer practices. I think this is going to get to be a fairly important set of lawsuits. But Greg, since you went to MIT and what was it, the Sloan's Business School, corporations don't pay taxes, they don't pay fines. It all comes into the charges to the consumer. One way or another, the consumers are being asked to clean up for this. And I just as soon have it on the corporate side of the table, because then we don't get blamed for ever increasing sewer fees or cleanup costs when we didn't make the mess. But ultimately, the public will be paying for this mess. So I just wish there were a way to maybe pre-test some of this stuff beforehand. Thank you.
Yeah, what we really need are very strong producer responsibility laws. Various legislators, at the state level have been trying to pass bills relating to producer responsibility for plastics. And they're reintroduced, years in a row, and, not much progress, but really has to start there. You don't want to have to just react and spend money on lawsuits and enrich lawyers. It's better for society to have an understanding up front that you're not going to socialize your costs on the rest of us, that, you adequately test your chemicals, your materials, and then you accept responsibility for them in the, out on their life cycle. So that's where we really have to start. Good luck with that.
Let me just make one additional comment, just based on a couple of the director's comments. There's a bill that I believe the governor will sign, if he hasn't already, AB 2247, that requires disclosure by chemical companies of all products that contain PFAS. And so I can provide the board with a copy of that bill, but that's and it's interesting because as Director Slater-Carter intimated, a lot of the products you use, you wouldn't even know it had PFAS in it. And so, but it comes out on the wastewater side, because one of the things we've seen in Southern California is that one of the main contributors to PFAS in the groundwater is wastewater treatment discharges, and there's no chemical spill or anything. It's coming from people's bodies and it goes through the wastewater system. And it's kind of crazy that much PFAS could be present just from products, but that there's evidence to suggest that is the case. So anyway, I will share the copy of that bill with the board, and so folks can stay up to date. And I have no further items to discuss on the attorney's report.
Thank you for that. Good discussion. Item 7, Director. Seeing none. Topics for future board consideration. Item 8. Anybody? Okay. Do we have a closed session item for this evening?
I don't need one. Kishan, do you have a need for one? You're on mute, Kishan.
No, I don't have any.
Okay, we can adjourn this meeting. We are done.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Good night.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone.
Bye.